Okay, welcome to my Action Research Project PLC. I have my administrators, I have my principal, and my academic coach with me. And I did it on cooperative learning strategies. You guys, the administration wanted to know, wanted to increase student engagement as well as decrease worksheet usage. Our principal wanted to know what the research said, some successful strategies that work for different content areas, and for the teachers to be given some tools to implement this into their classroom. Because we all know you walk by the classrooms and the kids are, some kids are engaged, some kids are not, and usually they're doing a worksheet or they've got a book open or they're calling off definitions, and so we just wanted to see what we could do different. Okay, so this topic is the effectiveness of cooperative learning strategies. And the purpose was to look at how the cooperative learning strategies, the CLSs in the classroom, benefit students. And by implementing cooperative learning strategies, students' performance and engagement will increase. So my questions were, question one was, will students' scores improve after using a cooperative learning strategy? And the question two would be, how do the Kagan strategies affect student feelings toward different types of instruction? So I did a little bit of research. I used the Kagan book and actually found that there's a school system in Kentucky, a whole school system that implemented Kagan into their schools and even had a school labeled a school in decline. And the county, they supported them. They gave them lots of professional development. They told them they had to do a full implementation of the Kagan strategies. And at the end of the year, I think it was from 2002 to 2004, there was an increase of 10 points in 7 of their areas. I think they were tested in maybe like 10, but there was an increase in 10 points. But they did the full implementation with the behavior strategies, the cooperative learning strategies in the content in the curriculum, and they saw dramatic results. And so I thought that was interesting, and one, because of the dramatic results, and another because it is in Kentucky where we're from. So, and that was why I wanted to know, will they improve? And so this is showing that if we do use them, they will improve. So it kind of encouraged me to use the Kagan strategies. How do the Kagan strategies affect student feelings toward different types of instruction? And with cooperative learning strategies, it's all about getting them in groups, having them talk to people, having them do things with others. And when you get in a group and when you talk to people, that causes interaction, and the interaction causes you to have memories and to store up memories linked with emotion. And so, according to Dr. Lori DeSantos, when we feel heard and are solving a problem, the brain works hard. This causes us to teach what we need to learn and form stronger memories associated with what we are learning. And so by being in a group and by teaching others and by talking to others about what you're learning, the students actually, they form memories, and then they associate with that with learning. And so when they come up with this again, when they look at the vocabulary word or they look at the science procedure, they can remember it better because they've had an interaction. They can associate it with an emotion and a memory that they had with that small group that they were in, either teaching or learning together. And then a different researcher, McGough, said that the PET scans in the brain reveal that the brain is more engaged during social interaction over content than during solo learning activities. Cooperative learning generates emotions, and therefore it's easier to remember. So it just kind of backs up what I said before. It's another piece of research that backs up about emotions causing students to learn better and learn more and be able to efficiently recall that information. And so I put that picture. Emotions are like neon signs telling your brain, remember this. And I think I was reading in there about, they said in medieval times, if they wanted somebody to remember something, they would get a boy and they would let him look and observe whatever they wanted to remember, and then they would throw him in a creek. And they said that because of it was such a huge emotional thing, that he could remember exactly what had happened, that event that had happened. So they've been doing research on this for a long, people have realized the connection between, learning something and an emotion for a long time. So I thought that was an interesting, kind of harsh piece of information. But okay, my data sources were a collection of student and teacher surveys. The student survey told about their perception on how they learn best, what strategies that they would like to use, which classes they would like to use them in, and this guided me in the research deciding which strategies to use, and in the specified content area, which content area, could I use? Could I pick one to use in that the students would like to use them? The teacher survey told us about the perception on how they think students learn best, their students learn best, what they know about the K and cooperative learning strategies, and this helped guide the research in deciding which strategies the teachers have or have not used. That's kind of what I looked at that to see. Are they using the strategies? Do they know about the strategies? And it helped me decide which content areas to pull as well. The collection of student data. The student achievement data collected pre- and post-K and cooperative learning strategies. With this, I gave the students a pre-test. I incorporated the learning strategy, and then I gave them immediately after a post-test to see how their grades would change. And so using this, I'm going to answer the question, will student scores improve after using a cooperative learning strategy? So that was why I collected that data. And then the students were given surveys after their cooperative learning strategy, after the post-test, just to ask if they enjoyed the activity or if they would prefer to learn the content in the usual way. Like if it's math, did they like the cooperative learning strategy, or would they have rather had a worksheet or manipulative? The vocabulary strategy, would they have rather had, the teacher teaching or a worksheet or the cooperative learning strategy? So that will also answer the question, how do the Kagan strategies affect student feelings toward different types of instruction? So, the analysis description, data from the research will be compared and findings will be determined from all sources. So I will, so I've analyzed everything and I'm giving you what I found from all the sources. So here's what the students pre-survey said. This is what that they would have liked to do. This is how they thought that they learned the best, when they learned the most. So I was really surprised with this. It said that they enjoyed the teacher standing at the board. That's when they thought that they learned the most. And manipulatives, I thought the manipulatives would have been way out there. Doing a worksheet, 16%, and then small group, 34%, and then the other, it was like an off-the-wall kind of answer. I didn't really, but I had to put in there as others. So I was really surprised at the teacher lecturing, like that they thought that they learned best when the teacher lectured. I was really surprised by that. And then the other, another question is, I just asked them generally what they, if they had ever tried any of these strategies: think, pair, share, stand up, hand up, slips of paper, and true, false. These were just some strategies in the book, and what I did is I just described each strategy. I didn't give a name. I said, have you ever been asked to think about a topic, pair it with a student, and then share with the student? So I kind of described the learning strategy. And so 26 students said they had done think, pair, share. 22 said they'd done hand up, stand up, hand up, slips of paper, and true, false. And so they kind of have been using these strategies in the upper grades. These were upper grade results. And so they've been using them in the upper grades. And then the pre-student survey, this is what they would like to do. And this was also surprising to me. The reading, 18% would like to have used. So on their survey, I asked them, I gave them examples of the different types of cooperative learning strategy, and then I asked them, which one would you like to use in what class? And so I was really surprised. They said they would like to use math and social studies. And so I thought they would like to use it in reading, because so much of our day is in reading, but they didn't. 18% in science, 6% in writing. I thought maybe writing they would want to use some more cooperative learning strategies, but they said math and social studies. So that was a little surprising for me. procedures. The one that we use, you guys observed that the other day, the stand-up, hand-up, pair-up. I gave them a pre-test of 12 vocabulary words that they had never seen. We have not started on our reading unit yet. This was fresh in the morning. They hadn't seen a workshop or in whole group. And I just gave them the test, told them to take it. They did. And then we did the hand-ups, or the stand-up, hand-up, pair-up. So what happens in this is I put vocabulary words on a card or tape it onto construction paper. Then I put the students in 2 lines, and I gave one line a card, and the other line, they didn't have a card. And then I asked them to mingle around the room, and then I said stand up, hand up, pair up. And so the students find a person that either, if they need a card, they find a person that has a card. If they have a card, they find somebody that doesn't. They stick their hand up, they high five, and then the person with the card begins to test the other student. They say, they give them the definition. They say, well, what word means flowing water? And the other student would kind of think about it, and then they would say trickling. And then they would say the word is trickling, the definition is flowing water. And then they would test the other student. They'd say, okay, what's the word? And the student would say word, trickling. And they'd say, what's the definition? And they would say flowing water. And then they would sit down. And once I saw that most people were sitting down, everybody was sitting down, then we would start it over again. At the end of 12 rounds, then we passed the card to the people who didn't get cards, and we started all over again. At the end of that, students completed the post-test, and then, which was exactly like the pre-test, and then the students completed a survey that asked them if they enjoyed this activity or if they would rather do it the way that we normally do it, just looking at the definitions or just reading them off. And so that's how I did this activity. And then the analysis of this data would help us answer questions 1 and 2, and the pre and post test will give us data on student learning. The survey at the end will indicate how the students felt about the activity.
Going back to that slide earlier, the social studies, that is one classroom. Their teacher this summer didn't get trained on anything Kagan, so they've used nothing at all. But it's interesting to know that many of them would prefer being taught with a more cooperative method because they're getting it in writing, and she's doing it with the reading group that she has.
Right.
And Bethany's done some of it in math when she's been here.
Mm-hmm.
But they've not had the full implementation of it, but they've had none of it in social studies.
Right.
So it's interesting.
Remind me of that. I have something I need to tell you. Remind me of that at the end.
No, that's kind of stuck in my mind, how they would probably have preferred it to be that way.
Right. The cooperative other strategy that I used was in math. I kind of had a hard time because a lot of these, I didn't see that they would go with math. But I did find one, the cooperative worksheet was implemented into a math lesson on 3-digit subtraction with regrouping, which is very hard for 2nd grade. That's a hard concept for them to understand. They're challenged with it. If they can get the method down, a lot of times they're so nervous about it that they mess up the computation, so then they get the problem wrong. But it's just a hard concept for them to learn. So I did that. I gave them a pre-test of one problem, gave it all to them. They did it, turned it in, and then I gave them a worksheet or like a piece of paper, and it had a big problem, one big problem. And then I put them into groups, and I know who my high students are, my medium and my low students are, and I put them into groups of high, medium, low. There was at least one high, but there was differing numbers of the low and medium depending on where how many students I had that day. So I put them according to their ability, and then they all worked the problem. And I told them the challenge is that everybody in your group has to know how to work this problem by the end of the session. And so they worked it and they explained it. I could hear them explaining to other kids. And then when everybody was finished, they said they all knew it, and I checked a few. The students were given, then they were sent back to their desk and they were given another problem to do. And then afterward I gave them the survey, and then afterward I graded that. And this data will help us answer question, of course, 1 and 2. And then the survey at the end will indicate how the students felt about the activity. So here was the vocabulary. This was the stand-up, hand-up, pair. Granted, Remember that they had no exposure to this vocabulary before. 2 students made hundreds right off the bat. 3 made hundreds right off the bat. That was 14%. But if you look at these, the green are the students who made like whatever before and increased their grade to 100. So if you look at these students, there was 52% of them increased their grade to 100.
That's amazing.
Just between the pre-test, the CLS, and then the post-test. Then 29% just improved their grade. They might not have improved it to 100, but they improved their score. And I had one regression. Here. But that was probably just a mistake, oversight. So if you look at those results just from one activity, they increased their grade with 12 questions, 12 vocabulary words with just one. Then, like, you have what, like 81% of the students increased their grade.
That's
So,
good.
and then this was the 3-digit subtraction with regrouping, the group worksheet. Now, a lot of my students had mastered this by this point, and so, but I did have 6 that were struggling, and they were continuously struggling, and they had struggled for maybe a week. And so, from the 6 that didn't know what it was after, that couldn't computate the 3-digit subtraction with regrouping, 4 out of the 6 after the group worksheet were able to complete the problem and do the regrouping the correct way.
Wow.
That's really
A
good.
side note is that the B and the Q are both RTI, getting ready to be noted for special education. So if you look at that and you think about, the small group setting and that the other students that were maybe just struggling a little bit with this concept, if you think about that, 4 out of the 6, all 4 of the non-RTI students were able to complete correctly their post-test, and make 100. And these were the student surveys, post-student surveys that I took. How would you rather learn vocabulary? Would you rather do it on a worksheet, like what I sent home for homework, where they write the word and the definition? Would you do, the worksheets, other ones that we have, or draw a line from the word to the definition? Would you rather do teacher talking, which means I'm up at the board and I'm presenting the definitions and they're telling me the word? Or would you rather do the hand-ups, the stand-up hand-up? Well, 100% said stand-up hand-up, and they begged for it every day. And I'm like, we don't have time every day, but we will do it, at least once a week to help you. And so, and they beg for it every day. So I know that they like it, and that they saw when they saw the ones that got hundreds, or that their scores, improved just from one, in a matter of 20 minutes, their scores improved. I think that they really like that, and I
It
think
was
that
a
they
successful experience.
right. It helped them feel good about their learning, and so they wanted to do the cooperative learning strategy every day. They want to do one every day. And then the group worksheet, I asked them, would you rather practice on an independent worksheet? Would you rather me get up and talk about it? Would you rather me do the group worksheet that we did, or would you rather use manipulatives? And I still had some that would rather do other things. Some of them still wanted to use manipulatives, which would be the base 10 blocks. Some of them still wanted me to lecture, I guess. Someone wanted me to take them through it. But most of them liked the group worksheet. They liked working in a group, and a lot of my above-level children, they liked being the teacher. They liked explaining to the below-level kids, and the below-level kids, they can understand their language. Sometimes I think teachers use, the Common Core language, and when the kids get down on their level, on each other's level, they can understand, or they've shown tricks that they've learned that their parents have taught them, or the interventionists have taught them, and so they really enjoyed the cooperative learning strategy too. So now I'm going to share the findings of our research project. to answer question 1, will students' scores improve after using a cooperative learning strategy? The data show that 50% of the students at each cooperative learning strategy improved their grade to at least 100%. That's answering the question that their scores did increase in both activities in different content areas. And so that answered question 1. And how do Kagan strategies affect students' feelings towards different types of instruction? The research indicated that after students were involved in cooperative learning strategies and received their test scores, they would rather learn using cooperative learning strategies over independent worksheets, lectures, or in the case of the math activity, manipulatives. Further, what happens next in our PLC? Discuss which strategies will be best for each subject area. Have teachers choose a strategy to implement 1 time per week, and then have teachers present their strategies and data gathered for that activity for effectiveness in the PLC. So what I'm suggesting is that the teachers kind of do a little research in the Kagan book, with the Kagan book, and decide what activities they could adapt to their classroom. And then have them use this one time a week, and then have them, after several weeks of using this, have them bring back some data, if it was effective or not, and to present to the PLC so that other members of the PLCs can use different strategies and know which strategies work best in what content areas, and therefore kind of helping everyone to find a strategy that works for them. And then hopefully the thought is that if they implement one strategy and then somebody else comes into a PLC and presents another strategy, they will implement 2 strategies a week. And then they will find a way to implement the strategies in every content area. In every content area and in every and daily. So they would have maybe 1 cooperative learning strategy every day in a different content area. So my conclusion is that my students had an awesome time learning cooperative learning strategies and loved that their grades were going up. I learned how to put action research in a presentation, and now I can implement the same strategies of having a problem, finding research-based solutions, implementing the solutions, analyzing data, and presenting it to PLCs for approval and further implementation. And so I really enjoyed this, and my students really enjoyed this, and they beg for it every day. And so I know they won't forget their cooperative learning strategies, and the next time they do one, they will remember this strategy, and they will remember how it helped their grades and how it helped their feelings toward their mode of instruction. There are my sources. And that is all. Thank you so much for listening and being a part of my PLC, and for encouraging me to use research-based methods in different ways to engage students, so that they are enjoying instruction, and so they aren't doing 100 worksheets a day. And so I really appreciate the opportunity to do this and to present to my administrators, you, and to the other teachers in the building, to give them other resources and tools also. So thank you very much.